Greetings. Welcome to day 5 of the 31 Days of Tarot Challenge 2019 by Anthony Dawn here on YouTube. The fifth prompt that we're given for today, is the card that stalked you in 2018. Well, I'll be better able to answer it next year when I can look in my bullet journal and see if I had a card come up a lot for me during the year 2018, because I'm really keeping track of a card a day, every day, all year. But I have to say, in looking back, I did an awful lot of in-depth work with the Wildwood Tarot at the end of 2017 and throughout most of 2018. And I did at least 1 or 2 3-card draws every week. When I could, pretty much every week. And I think, at least in periods, during periods, it would cycle in and out. But I seem to recall getting a lot of, first of all, cards in arrows, the suit of arrows, which is swords, which would be the same as swords. A lot of thinking, contemplating kind of cards. And in particular, 3 cards stood out that I saw a lot of. And I think I might have even mentioned something about at least a few of those on my Into the Wildwood series that I started. The one card that strikes me really immediately as occurring a lot is the 8 of Arrows, and one of the reasons being the 8 of Swords. It's all about, the fear of not being able to move, kind of being defenseless in the Rider-Waite, being, trapped, not being able to see your way out of a situation. This 8 of Arrows struggle in the Wildwood Tarot is so different to begin with in the visual right away, and it really struck me. The woman or man, I don't know, I think it's woman, I guess because I think it's me, I think it's a woman. First of all, it seems really well equipped. She's in a horrific situation. It's stormy, it's very cold, she's trudging through snow. There are arrows all over her on the ground. So she obviously seems like, there's been a struggle, but it seems to be she's working her way out of that. She's moving forward. She's following water, like she has a sense of purpose in the path she's chosen to get away. She's dressed well for the weather. She has a sturdy staff to hold on to help her keep her footing. She has a bright light to shine her way. So she really is a far cry from the visual that we see in the Rider-Waite deck of the 8 of Swords. This meant a lot to me because the struggle was, it was within me. I was trying to set my purpose, during last year. I was trying to set my way. Where am I going? I knew I was, kind of bouncing around, and I think this is why this card kept coming up. Because it was telling me that I had the power. I had to make my own decisions. I couldn't stand there with a blindfold around my eyes in that pattern of and expect somebody to come and take my hand and lead me out of it. I have to do it myself. Okay? No matter what, I have to make my own decisions. And I also have to, it's all about leaving behind something behind you. She's walking away from this struggle. She's walking away from some kind of a struggle of something that's happened. The broken arrows are on the ground. She's moving away from that. So she's, in a sense, leaving her old thought patterns behind. Their old way of thinking. The way, maybe it used to work this way, but it doesn't work anymore. That's what I was getting from this card, and it kept coming up over and over again. So I found that really interesting. It was very timely. And along the same lines, I had the Page of Arrows, which is the little wren, and I think I talked to you a little bit about the little wren the other day. The Wren was very, was kept from the Druids kept the Wren as a totem of prophecy. And it is all about studying, acquiring knowledge, and while you're doing that, acquiring wisdom, so that you're going to be able to realize what decisions are right for you. So I thought, and this kept coming up a lot, and I can imagine the little Wren sitting up there watching as I'm trying to watch, work my way through the storm. I really loved that. I did the little Wren. It reminded me of Bird. If you ever saw my film when the original Bird came to visit me here at my home, and how the bird taught me, what the bird taught me. I think I have it in my Bird and the Crone blog about the idea of the crows going high up in these cypress trees. And while they're up there, they get a whole new view because they're high up. And they can see so much more than we can down here. And when I studied the birds, I started to realize that I needed to get a new perspective on things. Look from a different perspective. That's kind of what the Wren is showing us in this card. Or showing me. If I'm looking for a way to go, the Wren, look to the Wren, and see where the Wren is going. Look and see what perspective the Wren is giving me. So that was really cool. And one last card I had show up a lot for me, was the Queen of Arrows, which is the Swan. And the Queen of Arrows, I was really taken by this because the Swan is a really wonderful animal, and the Swan, I believe, mates for life. I have seen swans in their habitat be very beautiful, wonderful mothers and keep their little babies on their backs swimming along, and they're very protective of their children. But in this case, this Swan has separated from her mate, separated from the other swans, and is moving forward. Okay, looking for maybe new rivers, new canoe. And this is not just telling me that there was some kind of a loss. I didn't really lose anything in 2018, but I did lose old ways of thinking. I did lose my dependence. I had so much dependence on the patterns that I had in my life. I was a victim of circumstance, a victim of habit, that always did certain things with certain people. I had certain relationships. Of course, my dependence on my husband is, I'm really very dependent on him. And although I still am kind of dependent on him, as he's dependent on me, it's sort of a, it's not an unhealthy dependence. We are both very independent people, but we are very dependent on each other. But I realized the decisions that I had to make about my own life, I had to make myself. I had to separate. And I keep finding myself, like, this is the kind of thinking I had. Where last year I would have said, okay, we have to eat 5 fruits and vegetables every day. 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And I would make sure that I did, and I would try to make sure he did. And that's a lot of burden carrying somebody else around with you all the time. This year, I'm going to eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. I hope he does too, but I'm not his mother, and I'm not going to spoon feed him. If he wants to eat 4 or 3 or 2 or none or 10, he's free to do so. He's an adult. So that's separating, finding my own way, separate from anybody else's, was a strong message that I got in 2018. Okay, so those 3 cards, I would say 3 cards, kind of stalked me in 2018, but in a good way. And I'm very excited to see where that's going to lead me in 2019. Anyway, should I make a short answer very long? I hope not. Thank you for watching. I'm Rebecca. I wish you blessings.